Hey YouTube, this is Southern Prepper 2, and today I'm getting away from the whiteboard today, and we're going to talk a little bit about materials that you could use to build your ghillie suit out of. Now, what is a ghillie suit? A ghillie suit is just a modified piece of clothing that helps camouflage you. It helps break up your outline and your silhouette, and it helps you blend into your surroundings. So I'm going to show you the materials that you would need to collect if you desire to build a ghillie suit, or a cape, or a viper hood. But don't worry if you don't want to construct one, if you don't have the time. Southern Prepper 1 and myself are also going through some commercial ones that we're testing out and looking at. So we're also going to bring you those shortly, hopefully in the next couple weeks. They're very budget friendly on those. So don't worry if your cup of tea is not constructing one. We're going to bring you something that should suit your needs as well. So let's dive into it. The first thing you're going to need is a base. So you're going to need a top and a pair of trousers. Okay. It doesn't matter which camouflage pattern you go with. It could be Marines, could be OCP. Just try to stay with a lighter colored uniform. Don't get something that's super dark. You want to try to stay with lighter shades of camouflage when you're building this. Okay, so you need a base. You'll also need a boonie hat for your hood and veil on this. Okay, so that's your base of it. You're also going to need netting to attach to it. Okay, I prefer the 1-inch squares. It gives you more options for tying jute and natural vegetation on over like the 1.5-inch squares, so I prefer them. And we're going to put links to a lot of this stuff where I purchased my stuff to construct my ghillie suits. Next, you're going to want some canvas. You can order this, or you might have a bunch of army duffel bags laying around. It's the same material. You know, you can cut up them old duffel bags and use that as your canvas. And the purpose of the canvas, you'll sew it onto high stress areas that wear out fast, you know, your knees, your belly, that sort of stuff. It just helps with the durability of your ghillie suit. And it also helps when you're crawling across a bunch of rocks and briars and stuff like that. It's just a little more comfortable for you. Moving on. Now this is an optional thing. You can either buy this by the yard, or you can get a mesh laundry bag. And what I'll be using this for is I'll be cutting some holes in the back of the top and adding the mesh in for some ventilation. A ghillie suit can get very hot when you're laying there for hours and hours and hours in the sun. So it's nice to have that ventilation. Now this is optional, so you don't need that. Another optional thing, which is nice though, is some sort of foam. You'll be able to sew your foam into your knees and your elbows. And when you're laying there for hours, that foam helps a little bit if you're laying on rocks and stuff like that. It just makes it a little more enjoyable. Okay. Some of the tools you're going to need. You're going to need some needles. Okay, some good heavy duty needles. And you're going to need some seam rippers. Like, you got a lot of seam rippers like that come in little sewing kits. What I prefer is finding a seam ripper like this. I got them on Amazon, Hobby Lobby, with a bigger handle. It just makes working it a lot easier. So you're going to need a seam ripper. You're going to need a lighter. Some scissors. You're going to need some good scissors. A Leatherman's nice when you're really sewing through a lot of this heavy stuff, having to pull that needle through. A little cheap chip paintbrush. Cut the bristles short so it's a lot stiffer, and you could use that for spreading your shoe goo. Shoe goo is what I use to glue down your canvas and other stuff that we'll talk about in the construction of it. But you'll need a good bit of shoe goo if you're going to construct one the way I construct mine. I sew everything on with spider wire, 65-pound test spider wire. It's braided fishing line. It's very durable and strong, and that's why I use it. You need some sort of straight edge. It doesn't have to be like that. It could be a big book or whatever you have as a straight edge. You're going to need some 550 cord, gutted. I prefer the coyote over the green. it just blends in a little bit better, and it stands out less than the standard, green 550 cord. You'll need a bunch of it. This will be used for tying into the netting on your back, and that way you can tie in natural vegetation into your ghillie suit. Another great thing that you're going to need is some hair bands for doing hair. Get them in subdued colors, and you'll also work that into the net on the back too for holding in natural vegetation in your ghillie suit as well. So get you, I don't know, about 50 of them. You break them, they come off, you lose them. So at least get you about 50 of those. They're real cheap. Dollar store is a good place to get them at. Some sort of Sharpie marker, something when you're laying out your patterns just to make marks. Spray paint. Get you some camouflage colored spray paint. Make sure it's just matte. You'll use it. Optional is some dye. You can use your dye to dye, your mesh or your jute when we get into it. So that's kind of an optional thing. Spray paint works well too. I use that a lot in my construction on my ghillie suit. So let's talk about your jute. That's going to be your camouflaging on your ghillie suit. The general rule of thumb is you want 30% artificial camouflage and 70% natural vegetation on your ghillie. You can buy jute already pre-stranded or shipped to your house, just in a bundle just like this in a bag. It's already the individual strands. It's a little pricey. I like to stay on a budget, so I don't buy it pre-strained and taken apart like that for you. I buy mine in just pieces of burlap. They sell it by the yard on Amazon and Hobby Lobby. It's how I buy it. And then you just literally have to, it's a little time consuming, but you literally pull each individual strand from your burlap. So it does take some time. So if you have more time than money, I would definitely consider taking it apart yourself. I think a yard of this at Hobby Lobby is like $3.99 for a yard. And a yard makes this much jute right here. That's 1 yard. So it is a lot more cost effective. That much, if you purchase it pre-stranded, around $20, give or take, depending on where you buy it from. So I got $4 into that versus 20. Sandbags. Your burlap sandbags, awesome. You can do the same thing with them, strip them apart. These two bundles are actually sandbags here. This bundle is 2 sandbags. That's how much jute you get out of 2 sandbags. So if you got some burlap sandbags, you can go that route. Let's jump back down here. I'm going to show you one more optional thing that you may want to get for your ghillie suit. And you can run zippers, 16 to 18 inch long zippers on your inseam of your trousers. So if you want to go with 2 zippers, one for each pant leg, you can do that. And then I put 3 buttons on each side too with straps, just as a fail safe in case my zipper fails in the field. I still can operate with this ghillie suit. This is an optional thing to do. The reason I do it is so you can take these trousers on and off with your boots still on. So if you need to take them off out in the field to veg up the back of your pants or something like that, if your spotter's staying in the firing position, you have to move off that firing position and re-veg yourself. You don't have to take your boots off out in the field. Now, building and constructing a ghillie suit is very time intensive, at least the way I'm doing it. The way I'm doing it is how you would see most of your active duty snipers in the military construct their ghillie suits. Everybody builds them a little bit differently, but they run on the same concept and same principles. If I wasn't going to be using this one for heavy duty work, there's a lot of stuff I would do different with this ghillie suit. And when we get into the farther videos on constructing it and putting it together, the step-by-steps of it, I'm going to show you a lot of ways to cut a lot of time and save some money on constructing it for the, the practical use, for the homesteaders, for the preppers. You don't need this much. You don't need to go that in depth into this. So I'm going to show you along the way to do it more fast, a little more cost effective, and I'm going to show you the way I do it in the heavy duty, rugged, durable way. So stay tuned. We're also going to, like I said earlier, we're going to go over some commercial ones that are very cost effective, budget friendly. So stay tuned for the next one, and I'm going to get into the first couple steps on how to start constructing your ghillie suits. Thanks for watching.